This video, it is going to break down every single thing that I did to go from a commission-only sales rep to having revenue share, helping scale a really awesome offer that I worked with. And it's going to have everything from the perspectives, the ways of thinking that I came on board with, and everything in terms of the strategies as well. This is for business owners to kind of see what it really takes to bring on like a winning, lean, mean sales team. And for sales reps that eventually want to branch out of just closing and increase their income potential by bringing on more value or taking on more responsibility in a role. These are the things that I think are really important for you to be thinking about to actually open up those doors.
3, 2, 1.
And so I'll have everything lined up here in this document, and I'll send this document along with this video. So first and foremost, if you don't know who I am, my name is Andres. I've been in the remote sales space for like 4 years. This is going to break down how I went from a sales rep to a partner, from commission only to having a base plus revenue share, how we took the business from 30K a month to 180K a month. I was the only sales rep, and how I was averaging about 20 to 25K a month in commission and working 4 days a week. And to me, that was really important. Lifestyle and balance and traveling and all the things outside of work are really important to me. So for me, being able to earn this within a 4-day work week was, to me, one of the biggest wins. I know some people are all about, putting your 6-7 days a week. Awesome. Like, if that works for you, this actually works for me. And so just wanted to share that as well. So I'll start with what I looked for from the lens of a sales rep. Then what I looked at from the lens of a growth partner, and what the exact strategies that we did. I'll cover all of those as well. First, the offer. I was working with this badass entrepreneur right here. We're really good friends now, Ryan Roy. And so really niche offer. It was financial coaching, or it is for tattooers. Ryan's branched out into a little bit more marketing now, and he's doing a little bit more paid ads. When I came on, 7,000 followers, but a very highly engaged audience. And so I'll speak into why that's important. In my 4-ish years in the space, I've seen some killer offers. I've seen some offers that you think would crush it, not so much. And so these are the things I look for when I'm coming on to a new offer. First, let's burst the bubble that you can't make good money on a more infant offer. You can. It's actually, to me, it's exciting because it allows you to find more solutions outside of just taking 6 or 8 sales calls a day. It's like, what do you actually need to get to the volume there? What do you need to get the business to the revenue line that you want to be at so you can make the income you want to be? So it forces you to ask different questions. Now, what I looked for was, is this a blue ocean niche? Like, does he have an opportunity to grow quickly, or is there going to be a lot of competition, expensive ads, really noisy to drive traffic here? So that was the first check. Like, no one is doing this. Second, does he already have an existing audience? Right? An organic existing audience. So there's something that we can tap into without relying on ads from the beginning. And like I said, he only had 7,000 followers to start, but that was enough for me to say, this has some legs here. Now, I wouldn't jump on anything with less than that. And final thing that was really important is, does he have a booked out calendar? And this is why it's really important if you want to come on as a revenue partner or a partner. There is a lot of offers out there right now where the owner wants you to come on for commission only, things that aren't built out at all, proven at all, and say, yep, I have the audience, like, you should be happy with 10%, take it from there. And to me, it's really infuriating because commission only, even if you're inbound or outbound or whatever, is commission paid for sales. Anything you do outside of sales has a different, or should drive a different compensation. And so with Ryan, I was like, this guy has 2 weeks of booked calls, meaning his setting process is working and there's demand for these call slots. So That gave me the confidence to come in. And then the final thing was that, does he have a small team? The reason why, it depends on your intention. But if you want to have manager override or drive revenue share or anything like that, it's a lot easier with a small team. A team of, let's say, one other closer, or a team of setters, or maybe two, maybe three other closers. You can come in, you can drive numbers, you can outsell, you can outperform. Then you have a different conversation with the owner. It's a lot trickier to do that if there's 5, 6, 8, 10 reps in place. I just personally haven't done it. There's usually much like a hierarchy. There's usually a sales manager already in place. So this is kind of the sweet spot that I look for. So that's the lens of like what I looked for as a sales rep to come in to see that this has potential to grow and also make me money from the beginning. Okay, so take a breath there. Where's my water? We have some. Second thing, then we'll go into the actual strategies that I implemented, is what I look for as a growth partner. Okay, so that's part of the lens that I come from now. If I'm going to get onto a new offer, is like, can I see myself stepping into a partner role where it's going to increase my income potential? Okay, now you need to come in asking different questions. Instead of like, how much is your current lead flow? How many leads do you have for me? Like me. You come in like, what will it take for me to scale this to, let's say, 100K a month? Because Ryan was doing like 30K when I came on, or 150K a month, or 200K a month. What do we need to do to get it there? Okay. What does the current process look like? What issues do we have that we need to button up so we can scale effectively? And once we do that, what opportunities do we double down on? What do we pour gas on? Really light the fire. And this is really important for you sales reps, what lead gen strategies have you seen crush it on other offers that you can implement here? Now, when you have a partner relationship with the owner, they're going to be more open to testing your ideas out. And this is really important. When you're on different offers, learn as much as you can from what they're doing, because as closers, we get coached on and we train on closing. And so we're very one track. And so when you can learn what other talented entrepreneurs are in terms of what they're doing in their marketing or their operations and absorb that, that's going to be part of your skill set and you as becoming a bigger asset for smaller organizations that need someone that can bring more to the table. Okay, so that's a really important thing for you guys. Okay, so in my situation, I know we're booking calls, but as I started taking some of these sales calls, a lot of these people were not primed properly. I looked at the setting process. It was a 2-step outbound message. Hey, thanks for following. I don't know if you know this. We offer one-on-one sessions. Would you like me to book one in? They're free. And it worked. I mean, I was making sales, but as soon as I started going through the setting process, I was like, man, this needs to be so much more dialed so I can have the best quality leads and actually consistently close, because all those things are in our control. Okay, so this brings me into the specific strategies. Now, I knew if we could figure out the setting process, then we could double down on what we were doing. We're doing the shout out strategy to grow our audience. Then I felt confident that we could then nurture colder leads in our audience with the right setting process. So then I could actually keep closing at the level we needed to get to 150K a month. Okay, hope that makes sense. So here are the exact strategies that I implemented, I came up with, we tested, and this is what allowed me to negotiate revenue share and to negotiate a base. Now, to negotiate a base, you have to prove that you're doing more than just closing, and you are taking tasks off of the entrepreneur's plate so they can focus on the higher leverage activities, which is usually creating content or doing top of funnel activities. If you can take everything else off their plate, they can focus on that. They can drive more opportunities for you and eventually your sales team to convert. You make more money for the owner, and he just has to focus on filling that funnel. Okay, so these are the strategies that I did from the beginning. First thing, like I started to allude to, upskilling and rehiring on the setting team. As soon as I saw that, it was a 2-step outbound message, I started coaching our setter. I'm like, man, we really need to teach you how to start getting people to want to book a call, book now, get the right people on the phone. People were getting on the phone with us thinking we're accountants, and we don't do anything remotely close to that. So like that wasn't a sale, that was a DQ. And so how do we make sure that we're getting more of the qualified people that can actually sell to? And what that had me realize was I had to write the scripts. The scripts that we had were so basic. They were pretty bad. And what I started seeing is, because I started taking the sales calls, I started taking the exact language I saw from our prospects, from the tattooers I was talking to, and incorporating in the script. What was the common avatar challenge or mindset that I was then writing into the script, right? So I could write a script even better than the owner because I have sales experience and I know how to actually navigate the conversation. And then I just filled in the one thing that he has that I don't, which is like the understanding of his avatar and his market. And so by having all those sales calls happening, it helped me really write the scripts. And so because I started coaching, writing scripts, and essentially taking the setting management off of his plate, I was able to negotiate a base for that because I was spending time doing things outside of it. And then we started spending more time strategizing. And so that merited a base. Okay. Now, not everyone, one of my mentors is like totally against having a base salary. I personally like it. I think just it shows loyalty. It just shows having your basic living expenses covered. Like, just takes a lot of stress off your plate when you're in this commission heavy game. So for me, it worked really well. So for some of you guys, might not. Now, I won't go into this too much, but there is, in my opinion, a huge difference between having a VA and a highly skilled setter. I think a lot of owners are resistant to paying a base salary for an SDR or a good setter. But your setter is your first interaction with a lot of your clients. They're the ones that are the reason your closer is getting booked out usually. And so I think that is such an important part of the business. It's sometimes overlooked. And so really spending your time finding the right hire. I actually offered, and I did negotiate like time to be compensated for my time to recruit, train, and onboard a setter. And I just knew what I was looking for. Like, I need someone that's fluent and a native English speaker because we have a funky offer. Someone that's been well trained, and I found someone who was an incredible setter. They had worked with Jeremy Miner's 7th Level. I think he had sold or he had set for their financial group, and he came in within a week. He was ramped. By week 2, he was booking me consistent calls. That hire was so important. So for you business owners, do not overlook that. Okay. Now, one of the other things we did was build our pre-call resources. So actually I have an example here. This was super, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be there. Now, because Ryan and I were more, this was me and my stash, became more like partners, I started to get featured in content. And so it built more authority with me. And in this video, so you guys can watch it on your own, you'll see how Ryan edifies me. And so it really put me in a position of authority when I got onto sales calls. And especially like my offer, like there's a reason I wear long sleeves. This is kind of funny. The prospects we talked to, if they noticed I didn't have any tattoos, a lot of them were closed off. And so this edification really positioned me as an expert, and people were a lot more open from the beginning because there's a lot of skepticism in our specific niche. It's a little golden nugget for you guys there. Now, when I said Ryan had 7,000 followers, the reason I really liked what he was doing is Ryan's doing more ads now, but when I first came on, his content was getting so much engagement. This was typical, like comments for freebies, things like that. And so that helped me look at, well, how do we improve the freebie game? The freebies, a lot of owners put these things out and they'll start some conversations, but they're not as intentional with it. They're a little passive. If I post it, people will reach out to me. But if you can nail the freebie, the call to action, and have your setter really catch those conversations and nurture them properly, you're going to book so many more calls. A lot of owners now rely on AI bots or ManyChat or things like that. But the setter, especially if they're trained right, can turn more of those freebies into conversations. Okay, so those are some of the first few things I did. And just to give you guys, I don't think I mentioned this, month 2 with Ryan, or sorry, going on month 3. So month 1, I worked like a couple weeks. Month 2, I started making sales and like ramping. Month 3, we broke 100K. And then month 4 after that, 130, so on and so forth. And that, like, for a business that had never done that, like we were stoked, right? Because we were like, okay, we're proving this out. These things are in place. And so what I also started doing, now this takes a little bit of cojones. I just started charging more for the offer. Like, dude, this is $3,500. I was like, I don't think I'll have a problem selling this at $4,500. I raised it, made a couple sales, and then told Ryan, hey, our new price point's $4,500. He was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, I just made a couple sales. No one batted an eye. He's like, all right, done. And then I actually did it again a few months later. Once we had more of this consistent, raised it to $5,500 for the same offer. Didn't really affect my close rates at all. And so Ryan was excited. It worked for me. We added a few weeks extra of support. But then, just kept that price increase. Now, three key more things here is I created and I tested different call to actions. So this is what I was saying before, like what lead gen strategies have worked on different offers. So I was like, hey, Ryan, like some of the other offers I've sold for, these are some of the call to actions we do on Instagram. Why don't we try this out? And we did, and they started working really well. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but it started to give us like a good idea of what we needed to start doing. And having a constant feedback loop with the owner. So what we noticed with a certain type of call to action or freebie was if it was too focused on taxes, let's say, for example, the conversations were really difficult to build gaps on and get people to get on a sales call without thinking that we're CPAs or tax accountants, right? If the freebie was focused on mindset, we had less conversations started, but we had a higher conversion rate. If they got on the phone, like the chances of me closing was like 70-80% because the conversations were so emotional. And you could label the identity or the mindset, and it was a lot easier to enroll people. And so having that feedback loop with the owner and then working together on creating those freebies or those call to actions or those hand raisers is really, really key. Okay. Now, this is the juice right here. The webinar funnel. Now, I don't have the time. Ryan and I spent he flew to San Diego. He was here for a podcast. We spent 3 days creating a webinar together, testing it out. And I've had experience with it before. Now, you don't have to do a webinar funnel. What you should do, though, if you are going to do this, like what lead gen strategies do you feel confident that you and the owner could actually work on together? Or just double down on what they have and see what you can bring from what you're seeing in the market to improve it. But the way I did it with Ryan was, first we created a webinar funnel because I saw, like, dude, you're not doing that. Your audience would love this. Your audience is skeptical. Let's show them that you're real. Let's educate them. Our first webinar funnel, we had 100 and something people sign up. 65-ish showed up. Most of them stayed for the full time. We booked 27 sales calls, and I closed like 22 of them. from that first webinar funnel. So that became a constant tool that we used. Then, once we proved that out, we also spaced it out in a way that you wouldn't exhaust your audience. Then we decided to co-create something. This is also what really opened up the revenue share, is we got to a point that our audience had grown. Like we had 20,000 followers, 25, 30. And so people were coming to us that weren't the strike audience avatar, right? We initially were helping tattooers manage their finances, get better at saving. But to be that type of avatar, you needed to make a certain amount of money. Typically at least $4 or $5 grand a month as a tattooer. And things in the tattoo industry just happened to shift. And we started getting more and more tattooers that were struggling financially. They just weren't making enough money. Like, even though if they wanted to work with us, I just didn't want to sell them into the program because, like, man, you're making $2,500 a month. Like, your living expenses are $2,300. Like, there's not that much we can help you save. You got to make more money. Well, how do I do that? Light bulb. And so Ryan and I sat down. I'm like, man, there's a large percentage of people now coming because our audience has grown. We're casting a wider net that need help with marketing. Is that something you'd help them with? He's like, dude, hands down. My shop, when I was running it out in Brooklyn, I was booked. A lot of these tattooers are missing out on X, Y, and Z. And so we spent the weekend creating an offer, dialing it in. We did a beta test. We created that webinar that we spent a few days doing. That was going to be a one-to-many sale. And we negotiated revenue share. Because we're doing this together, you don't need to pay me up front for my time. 12% of everything that comes in from this funnel, kick it back my way. And we launched it. And in the first month, during the beta test, we sold at 1,200. We sold about 17 spots. And this was just me like reaching out to people that I didn't close on our flagship offer. And I pitched them on that, and they're like, marketing, $1,200, like I'm in. How do I pay? And so then when we took it to a webinar, that month we had like 46 sales at the $1,200 price point from just calling old leads and doing an hour, 20-minute webinar. And that was the proof that we needed to scale it. So then we started driving more traffic to the webinar, increasing the price point, and that created a consistent income stream. We eventually just had the webinar evergreen running, and we would make a couple sales, like one, maybe two sales a day. And then that drove, I was getting revenue share off of that. And the business was having now MRR and just consistency, which is really, really important for coaching business. I think a lot of them struggle to do that. And then opportunity. How do I then ensure that these people buying the low ticket program, the ones that are getting results, are getting upsold into our flagship? We're not missing the mark. So I built that process out, right? The upsell, the ascension model. And then last thing, the final ascension. There's an opportunity to take our clients that were initially $3,500 clients and turn them into a $9,000 client who would come in, get help with marketing. Once we helped them make a certain income level, we'd help them with money management. And once we got them to that point, then we helped them with their mindset, their habits, their spirituality, their relationship with money, more of the mental side. And so we ended up co-creating two offers that helped turn, like I said, a $3,500 client, it's essentially to a $9K client in a very specific niche with a very price-sensitive avatar. So I hope that helps. I hope that's useful. Ryan, I love you, brother. An incredible journey together. Ryan is now working on ads, and he's going to be scaling this up in a different way. Check out this video. But if you have any questions, feel free to DM me. We can brainstorm what would work for your offer, what wouldn't. Again, this is for the sales reps wanting to look at different angles and get creative. but for the business owners to look at, like, whether you want to work with me or not, it's like, what do you actually need to have in place to set up your sales team for success so you can hand off these things and focus on actually growing the business. So I will be posting more of this stuff and happy to connect with anyone in the future. Cheers.